I got a text about talking with the Thorns, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy to hop on a call and just have an honest conversation. And in that conversation, it started, and then it was like, then I had a conversation with Merritt, which, I didn't know where that conversation was going to go. And he was raw, he was real. It was an emotional conversation, and I saw the authenticity and the realness in what was going on. And to be honest with you, that was the first time when I was like, okay, because for me, it was like, I was hurt over that weekend as well. When we saw players tweeting and talking about like taking this time to be quiet, I was one of those players because it was personal to me. And I came back because for me, it's an opportunity. I will never forget my year playing at this club. I'll never forget how the community made me feel. I will never forget what it felt to put that jersey on and, have the crest on your heart. I will never forget the moments, the moments that people don't even know about with the teammates. And it was one of those things when I got traded away, I was just like, I'm going to come back. But never did I dream it would be in this role. But I came back because I think this is a moment in time for women's soccer. I think it's a moment where there's a lot going on in the game and people are doubting and wondering. And it's an opportunity to come into a position where, Merritt was like, well, we're going to put you in the seats, in the boards. We're going to help you lead, because we've taken this club to a certain spot. And I think Portland Thorns is arguably one of the best clubs in the world. But he was just like, we need to look and change some things. And for him, they'd been looking for this for a while. They just hadn't decided when. And it was very apparent to them that this was the time. It was now. And so the conversations were just easy. And I spoke with a lot of the staff members. I spoke with some of the players, and it was just like, if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? And I was like, yeah, let's do this.
So obviously you're taking over at a time where there is some turmoil, not only within the Thorns or within the Timbers and Thorns organization, but also within the WNSL and WSL. Yeah. I haven't had a lot of coffee this morning, so you're just okay. First of all, taking over the Thorns, many people were calling for Gavin Wilson's ouster after the allegations against Paul Riley had come out and how that situation was handled. How do you help the team move forward from that?
I went into the locker room and I had a chance this weekend. So I was in Portland, and
I know we saw you at the game.
I had a chance to talk to the players, and I had a chance to let them know that they should feel seen and heard. And the most important thing is that, you brought up the league. You brought up this moment in time, right? This is personal to me. Like, I went through the first two leagues. I know what it's like to have your dreams and be living your dreams. And then with WSA, then all of a sudden it folded. And then the next league, and then it folded. And to be honest with you, when these conversations we're having about this league possibly folding and, the Thorns, like, who are the Thorns? That's when I was like, I know who we are. Mm-hmm. And that conversation with the players, I felt that this was the right move based on their response, because I think it's time that everyone understands that this is a moment in time where we pause, we learn, we realize what we can do better, and then we connect, and then we rise. And that's how I'm looking at it. It's a time for us all to connect and rise. And I get to do that knowing what it's like to sit on the other side and playing for the club. And now knowing, with all my years of experience at CONCACAF and doing a lot of things at the global level, to see a bigger picture. So I think that's why, because, you know, I just had a baby girl, just over a year and a half ago, and I almost died. I had heart failure a week after giving birth to her. And I remember racing to the hospital. She's holding my finger and crying and saying the goodbye speech to my husband, and then praying to God. I said, if you give me another chance, I promise to make it matter. And it was that moment where I was like, this is my chance to help matter. And so if you ask me why, it's all of those reasons. It's for her that if she chooses to play soccer, I don't know if she will. I am not the mother that's gonna be like, you have to play. And I will kind of hint that goalkeeping is the best position, but I won't tell her she has to do that. But I want her to look at these heroes and sheroes that I see in these players, and look at this organization, and look at the women's game and everyone involved in it, and see a reflection of who I want her to be. And I think I get to come in and have a voice in all aspects of all of those things and lead in that authentic way. And that's what I hope to do.
There are still some fans who are calling for Gavin's ouster from the entire team, and still some, you know, there's some concern among the fan base that the culture of the Timbers and the Thorns is not doing enough to change. You know, how will you address that personally in your role?
Well, I think everybody wants the investigation to be done. And once those results have come out, then we'll know what we're dealing with. From my perspective, I think the most important thing is that when I was here, it was the most connected community club fan base in the world. And I think we need to get back there. We need the fans to understand the importance of them in us being successful, because I remember like making that save and the place just erupting. And I was like, yeah, this is, you know, I know that importance. And so if it means going in and sitting down and talking and listening and being like, okay, like, how do we move forward together? And then the players, it's exactly what I said to them in the conversation we had was, I want us to be best in world. I want people to look at us when we play. And this is the thing. That's what people see from the Thorns right now. I'm not coming in to say, oh my God, we have to change everything. We just need to bring us together and connect. And then the club administrative side, like Merritt made it very clear that we're listening, right? I mean, look at me, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Merritt is like, what do we need to do? And I said this, and I think you saw the press release, because I even joked to Merritt, I'm like, I am not a checklist. And he laughed. He's like, I don't want a checklist. I want us, because, you know, the thing is, I know what this club was when I was here. Right. And I know what we could be. And then now with the experience that I have and my connection, and I want it to be one. It is not like one player. If you're a player who plays 90 minutes or a player who plays 1 minute, we're all the same. It's the fans to understand we need the fans to believe in us again. We need the fans to sell out that crowd so the players get in there. And then the opposition team comes in, because I played against Portland, remember? Right. And I was like, oh gosh, I got to go to Portland. This is what we need. And then the administration just bought in. And I've sat with the staff members and I know what they want. And I know that they're hurting as well too. Right. Because I think we all have to remember, in all of this, this has affected everyone. And I can tell you from going through what I went through in my life, that I found out that when I thought I was going to die. And then I had 2 weeks after that where, unfortunately, because I was exposed, the doctor who dealt with me, unfortunately, got the virus and died as well. So I had to spend 2 weeks quarantining. I didn't have COVID, but I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember in those 2 weeks, I was like, it was hard. It was horrible. Like going through, like, just had a baby, can't hold my baby, like all of those things. But I realized when we get through the toughest times, if we pause and listen and learn about ourselves, what we're meant to learn about, we go to a different level of who we can be. And that's what I want to do with this organization.
in a larger sense, and combining this with your role for CONCACAF, is women's soccer, we heard the allegations about the Whitecaps that came out over the years, and including a report in The Guardian a couple of days ago. And then the Spanish women's soccer team. Just, is women's soccer at a reckoning right now, do you feel?
I think this is a moment in time for women's soccer. And that's why I'm here. Because I think anybody who's ever played the game, been involved in the game, understands the urgency that we need to get it right now. And because I've been around where, the league is folded, and as a player, I'm like, wait, I'm playing my best soccer in the world. What's happening? And then now at the global level, you see so many different things happening. I think it's time that we hit that pause button and listen and learn and grow, but we do it together. There's no script of how to do this moving forward. I can just say we need good people. We need people who are inspired by something bigger than themselves. And then when I say people, it's players, it's organizations, it's staff, it's confederations, it's, everybody. It needs everybody to come in and say, okay, you know what? Like, we're in a different place with this game. And this game has been growing faster than some people are comfortable with, but not fast enough for some, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this game has been growing. And this is a moment in time that we've got to figure out what side of the fence are you going to sit on? And for me, that's why I'm making this big move, because I loved my job at CONCACAF. I loved what we were doing there. And I felt I was impacting, but now it's like get in there where you're in the daily grind with the players, with the leagues that we need to survive, and making sure that next step for us is a positive one, so that we can go where every former player wants. Anybody who's ever played soccer, they want to go, but we've got to come connect, listen, learn, figure out the next way to go forward, and we got to do it together.
Okay, so now some GME questions. I know you've been an assistant coach at Rutgers. You also have obviously been an administrator at CONCACAF. What makes you think that you can be a general manager? And is there anybody you've reached out to like talk to you about being in that role?
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people. I've spoken to people on the men's side, on the women's side. I think the thing is, like, it's interesting because it's building a team, it's connecting a team, it's all of it, managing everything on the Thorn side, and going into, the whole, like, I spent the whole weekend there. But I will say this, before I took this job, just like with anybody else, I had questions.
Yeah.
And I did have a conversation with Gavin, because for me, I wanted to know what type of environment I was walking into. And, obviously there's things we're not allowed to discuss, but it's one of those things where I've asked enough questions to different people. And first of all, like, just to Gavin, to make sure that I wasn't walking into an environment where he didn't want me there. Because if anybody's going into a new job, you want to make sure you're going into a place where you're invited and you don't have enemies. And that was apparent that he was absolutely for this. And I think for me, the conversations, I'm not saying I'm walking in knowing everything. I think that's one of the things as an athlete, you put your hand up and be like, I'm great at this, but this is where I need help. But you have to understand, the Thorns have been successful up to this point,
right? Because
they know what they're doing, and their staff in place, and their systems in like this. Like I've had conversations with everybody on staff, and I think we're in a good place. So I think where I have gaps, I'm surrounding myself with people who will help me fill those gaps. And where I know I can lead, I'm still going to surround myself with people who will make me better. I'm not coming in here saying I know everything. I know what I'm good at and I know where I need help. But I'm going to surround myself with the people who can make sure that where we want to go, we're doing this together and we're empowering each other, but we're doing it in a way where everyone feels seen and heard in the process.